Hi, in this video, we will learn how to find the midpoint of a line segment. So let's take a look at this first example. So in this example, this line segment is joined by the point 1, 1 and the other point is 7, 3. So the midpoint is actually given here to be 4, 2. So the question is, how can I find the midpoint for 2, right, given the two endpoints? Okay, so first, what we can do is try to look at how do we find the x coordinate of the midpoint. So for example, right, I'm going to drop this, I'm going to just look at this horizontal line over here. Okay, so this horizontal line, right, the x coordinate is at 1, the x coordinate is at 7. So where is the middle? Okay, the middle is actually over here. So how do we find the middle point, right, which is the x coordinate here? So how do we find the average, the middle, right? It will be to find the average of the x coordinates. Okay, so the first x coordinate is 1, the second x coordinate is 7. To find the average, you divide by 2, so you get 8 over 2 equals to 4. Okay, so if you find the average of the x coordinate, you actually find the x coordinate of the midpoint. Okay, so you can see that the x coordinate of the midpoint is indeed 4. So similarly, all right, let's take a look whether we can do the same to find the y coordinates of the midpoint. So let's now look at the y coordinate now. So over here and here, so let's find this vertical line now. Okay, so this vertical line, right, one of the point is at 1, the other one is at 3. So where is the middle, right? Where is the midpoint of this vertical line? Right, quite obvious. The midpoint is over here at 2. So again, what we can do is we can try to find the average of the y coordinates, and in this case, right, it will be 3 plus 1. Take average, you divide by 2, you get 4 divided by 2, and you get 2. And yes, indeed, this will be the y coordinates of the midpoint. Okay, so we can see that the x coordinate of the midpoint is over here, the x coordinate, and the y coordinate of the midpoint is over here. Okay, let's look at another example and see whether this is still applicable. Okay, so let's take a look at this example over here. So let's try to see whether we are able to find the midpoint. The midpoint is over here. Okay, so the two endpoints are -3, 2 and 5, -3. Okay, so let's try to find the x coordinate of the midpoint. X coordinate of the midpoint. Okay, so previously we tried to find the average of the x coordinate. So let's try to see whether it works. So the x coordinate of the first point is -3. The x coordinate of the second point is 5. So we will take -3. Okay, how do we take average? So average, you have to add. You plus, okay, 5 and you divide by 2. So -3 plus 5, you will get 2, divide by 2, and you get 1. So can you see that the x coordinate of the midpoint is 1 and it works. So similarly, let's try to find the y coordinate of the midpoint. Okay, so now this time you look at the y coordinate instead, right? So the y coordinate of the two endpoints are 2 plus, remember you add to find the average, 2 plus -3, then you divide by 2 to find the average. So in this case you get -1 over 2, which is also the same as -0.5. So this -0.5 corresponds to this, the y coordinate of the midpoint. So yes, right, so this is the way that we are able to find the coordinates of the midpoint. So in your notes, how do we find the coordinates of the midpoint of PQ? Right, so P, right, the coordinate is x1, y1. Q, the coordinate is x2, y2. So how do we find the midpoint? We will take the average of the x coordinate to be the x coordinate of the midpoint, and also the average of the y coordinates, and this will be the y coordinates of the midpoint. So how can we find the average? So you take the first x coordinate plus the second x coordinate and you divide by 2 to find the average. So similarly for the y coordinate, you add them up and then you divide by 2. Okay, so this is the formula to find the coordinates of the midpoint.